Wait, let's talk Lions football. We got calls to get to, but just your reaction initially to that game.
Same as you guys. I mean, it stunk. Offense was just out of sorts again. And way too – I mean, I asked Coach after the game, just 55 pass attempts. I mean, that doesn't seem like the Lions' recipe to win. And I don't know if – he said it was more game plan. That I think they wanted to go into the game and, take their completions and open up the run game through the pass game, which – a lot of people, might have philosophical differences on that. I always believe the run game is going to open up more explosions in the pass game. But yeah, just didn't seem like the Lions style that we've been used to, or that we saw, in the overtime game against the Rams, just dominating and establishing the line of scrimmage and being physical. I'm telling you, 55 pass blocks in a game is not fun for the offensive line. It's just not.
No.
And during the game, it looked like there was some interior pressure at times. John, I don't, you watched probably the game, and Goff just never really looked comfortable. And I got to be honest with you, I'm not saying this is some headline news, but I think Jared Goff misses Josh Reynolds a little bit. I think that just the experience that he had with Josh Reynolds and the years of experience that he had, and the reps that he had built up. With a receiver like that and being able to just hit his back foot and get the ball out of his hands and knowing where the guy's going to be. I'm not saying that he doesn't trust his receivers now, but it just takes time, right? It's going to take a lot more reps for these guys to start getting on the same page and to fully trust each other. So the passing game just looked out of sorts. I thought Tampa played really good. They played hard. They were missing some of their best players, and by the end of it, Vita Vea wasn't even out there, but they played tough and they confused the passing attack a little bit. And it's a shame because I really did feel the defense played really good football. Outside of the one busted coverage that led to that long touchdown to Chris Godwin, I thought the defense took a step and showed that they can be dominant. So it's really a shame that I think the offense just couldn't figure it out. It feels like a bit of a wasted performance, especially from guys like Hutchinson and Brian Branch getting an interception.
Defense played well.
Yeah, you can't even really feel happy about that performance unless you get the win. So, just kind of a bummer overall.
And this is something I've been talking about that you just hit on. The strength of this offensive line is being able to run block. Kevin Zeitler is a really good player in both facets, but I think where he excels is in run blocking. Same with Glasgow, same with all of these guys. Now you start talking about Penei Sewell, I think he does it all well. But when you're talking about pressure coming up the middle, the way that you solve that is the same way that you won the game against the Rams. It's smash mouth football, and then it makes pass protection so much easier the further into the game that you get. First of all, you're wearing on that defensive front, and you're able to sell the run, even on a pass play. If it's a 5-step drop, there are still many times where I'm selling the run and run blocking and then converting to pass block because it makes it so much easier because that threat is always there that you're going to run, and they're trying to figure out how to solve that. And then I thought Ben Johnson really missed the boat when, I don't know if he didn't recognize that Vita Vea was out or because they were already playing without Kalijah Kancey.
Right.
Then Vita Vea goes out. Their top two defenders up front are not in the game. I just didn't understand why they didn't just flip the switch and say, you know what? Enough is enough. We're just going to mash you.
Yeah, and it looked like the game plan was try to get the ball outside in the run game, right? A lot of outside stretches and zones and pulls.
I'm not going to run right at Vita Vea.
Right. But then when he goes out of the game, we were wondering, up in the booth, maybe you start running in between the tackles a little bit. You know what? And I think that maybe just the proper adjustments weren't made. And in the passing game as well. It looked like Tampa was just kind of dropping back and clogging the middle of the field, and their linebackers were dropping 10 yards, 12 yards deep and taking away those intermediate routes that are a staple of this offense, and you just couldn't find a way to get maybe some of the shorter crossing routes in there, right? Get Jamison Williams the ball on the move, maybe at 2 yards, and then he maybe breaks an explosion. It just seemed to have to kind of check the ball down a bunch, and when you're checking it down that late – you really don't have a chance. You know what I mean? Those linebackers in safety, they recognize it. They're coming up. They're making contact as soon as the ball is caught. If you get the ball out of your hands a little bit quicker, now you're going to give your guys a chance to break a tackle and make a move and get some yards. But And John, back to your point, you can't just start running the ball, I think, in the red zone either, right? It seemed like yesterday it's let's pass, and then we get to the red zone and okay, now we got to run the ball. It doesn't work like that, right? The defense, they're not dummies, right? You got to start loosening them up way before that, early in the drive. You got to throw some runs in, especially if you're this offense, which is your identity. So it was just and just other mistakes, right? The end of half. Yeah. I mean, I know Coach was killing himself about that, and that's just a mental error that is just kind of shocking, right? Because that play shouldn't even be an option. And there needs to be, I hope there was somebody else in his headset saying, Coach, like, I think our code word used to be thunder, right? At the end of half where field goal team, we don't got timeouts. We get tackled in bounds. We got to go. Yeah. There's got to be somebody in his headset telling him, Coach, this is second down. We do not have time. This is not even an option.
Right. Yeah, he used the word hurricane. I think that's what they're calling. So,
hurricane, whatever the word is.
Hurricane is off.
Okay, there's no chance for hurricane, right? Yeah. If it's third down, okay, Coach, we got it's second down. We're going to have to get to the line. We're going to have to spike it. That whole operation just was just a complete meltdown, I think, in that moment. And that was something uncharacteristic of what we've seen, at least over the past 20, 25 games with this team. Some issues we saw yesterday, that looked more like what we saw, a couple years ago. Now, I'm not freaking out. I think they're going to get it fixed out. And look, we all trust Ben Jansen. I think we still trust Jared Goff. But bottom line is, man, they got a lot of work to do.
Campbell said it's all on him.
I don't believe that. I mean, he was bummed, and did you take points off the board? You absolutely did.
Right, but the argument is, like, if you had 3, you only needed 3 at the end. I get why he says it's all on him, but, like, I think that's more covering for
you still had,
deficiencies.
You still had, I mean, they were 1 for 7. I mean, even if you take that out, you're still 1 for 6.
Right. I mean,
in the red zone, right?
4 fourth-quarter possessions. Yeah. With an offense that's supposed to be great, like, that's a Goff issue, that's a Ben Jansen issue, that's not first half Dan Campbell. He said that they had to overcome it. When he came out of halftime, he said we got to overcome it. They didn't overcome it. That's, to me, the story more than his blunder at the half.
Yeah, they started to. I think they started with a field goal their first drive, and then
that's more the same.
The next drive, then the next drive, I think they got the touchdown. So you get 10 points on your first 2 possessions. But you're right. After that, it just the offense just couldn't find a way to punch it in. And even at the end of the game, you get down to the red zone, and I'm looking, and I know he just got called up from practice squad, but Tim Patrick's a big dude, like 6'5". I mean, you would think, okay, red zone threat. He wasn't even in the game the last drive, and I think you started with the ball at the 40-yard line. You started with great field position when you got the ball back with 35 seconds, whatever it was on that last drive. I didn't even see Tim Patrick out there, so I'm like, okay, and I get it. I'm not going to kill him for that. I mean, he just got called up. I know there's probably not a ton of reps that he's taken with Jared Goff, but at least a red zone target, right? A 50-50 ball, get the ball up in the air. You need a touchdown. Why not take a couple shots? And he's really your only receiver with size right now on the roster.
Did they throw to the end zone at all in the fourth quarter?
I don't think so.
Doesn't that feel like unfathomable?
Yeah, it does. And it was just a game of adjustments, and I didn't think they made the necessary ones. I thought Tampa Bay's defense was, especially their secondary, were jumping routes. I thought Jared Goff was just kind of staring guys down at times. And there was a couple, I mean, I know he had the 2 interceptions, but first one, look, Jameson got knocked down. Second one, never really saw a good replay. Maybe his arm got hit, but either way, that looked like a really bad decision. Yeah. And there were probably a couple other ones that guys were jumping routes that Amon-Ra knocked away another one like he did last week against the Rams. But I didn't see, you're sitting there saying, okay, if they're jumping routes, what's the, obvious adjustment? Maybe a double move once in a while, right? Yeah. And I didn't see the necessary adjustments yesterday.
We got a bunch of calls we'll mix in. TJ's thoughts, 248-539-9797. Lions lose. It's 97-1.